Google has grown so big and so ubiquitous that it's a verb. When we search for something online, we Google it, right? Well, let me tell you a couple of secrets about Google. Not about how it works or how to do more effective searches, but about that name. First of all, Google is spelled wrong. When Larry Page and Sergey Brin founded the company and came up with the name in 1997, they were thinking of a mathematical term known as a googol, which is spelled Googol. That expresses a very large number, 1 followed by 100 zeros. And the person who came up with that number and that name was a 9-year-old kid who just happened to have a famous mathematician for an uncle. Google, that is Larry and Sergey, hoped to one day have that many items on the internet cataloged and indexed in their search engine. But like I said, they got it wrong. They spelled Google Google. So that begs the question, what did they inadvertently name their company after? What is a Google? Here's where the spelling mistake leads us into some pretty embarrassing stuff. There's a music review from 1856, which describes some performance thusly: a gradually modulating howl, a squall, and a Google. In the late 1800s, a Google was the Adam's apple of a pig, which apparently tastes quite good when cooked with turnip greens. A Google was also the name of a very ugly bird that was also known as a skunk head. If you were drunk, you were Google-eyed. If your eyes bulged out, they were googly. In 1921, a medical journal used the word Google to describe the sound of a certain gastrointestinal disorder that resulted in passing gas very loudly. A short story, published in 1942, used Google as a verb describing the actions of a male slut. And there was a cartoon character named Barney Google, who, according to some, might be suspected of having sex with his horse. I guess what I'm saying is, when you pick a name for your company, A, make sure you spell it right, and B, make sure you know what the name of the company actually means. So there's your Google secret. Now let's do some rock secrets.
This is The Secret History of Rock with Alan Cross.
Hello again, I'm Alan Cross, and here we are with another look at the untold or seldom told stories behind the music we love. There's a look back at 2002 coming up, and I want to take some time to go through what I call the flavors of Jack White. He's one of the few artists who emerged from the first decade of the 21st century to become a true rock and roll star. We're not making many of those anymore, so it's worth taking a look at Jack to find out what makes him so special. First, though, I want to pull back the curtain on some songs that everybody knows very well. Stories behind the making of legendary songs, beginning with the Smiths' How Soon Is Now. If you were into the alternative thing or the British indie thing in the 80s, you'll know how massive this song was. It's still one of the most played retro songs of all time, but how much do you really know about it? Well, I can tell you that things weren't supposed to be this way. How Soon Is Now was never designed to be a hit. It was recorded as a B-side to a single called William, It Was Really Nothing in July of 1984. But because the reaction was so strong, it was released as a proper single 6 months later, and it became the hit that it is. Smithologists, and there are plenty of those, say it's possible that the original title of How Soon Is Now was Father and Son. Second, it's presumed by many scholars of the Smiths to be about the gay club scene in Manchester in the late 70s and early 80s. And third, Morrissey once told me that there are some accidentally improvised lyrics in the song. Leave it to the imagination as to what those might have been. But after two vocal takes, everybody seemed happy with the result, so they left things alone. The guitar effects used on the studio recording made it exceedingly difficult for the Smiths to perform the song live, given the technology of the time. To get that sound involved no fewer than 4 Fender twin reverb amps that had to be kept vibrating together in just the right ways. The only way to get it right was to record everything in 10-second bursts, and because no one wrote down how they did this, no one, not even guitarist Johnny Marr, remembers how he got this sound. I think we're all sufficiently familiar with the version of How Soon Is Now that's been played a million times since 1984, but rather than listen to that again, I thought I'd pull out this, a mysterious alternate version of the song that surfaced in Italy. It's longer than the one that we know, and may have been released as a mistake. It wasn't totally finished or edited. You'll hear the differences starting just over 2 minutes into the song.